excited to be here. But thank you for being here. I really do appreciate this afternoon crowd. Today's format is going to be a little bit different. We have a student panel, as you can see. They are not nervous. I am a little nervous because this is a new trial for me, and it's good to get out and stretch and try little things. Mr. Stoss, could you click the next slide? So at our last staff meeting, I walked away feeling, and I'm not a real feely, touchy guy, but occasionally the emotions come in. I was feeling like it wasn't a great staff meeting. I always look internal first. What can I do? I enact my QBQ approach that you get tired of me talking about. And I started thinking, I need to do something a little different. It's already that time of the year that it's difficult, a lot of testing, we're anxious for spring break. So I started thinking more about this idea of how to get students involved at that point on. Because I don't want you walking away from meetings feeling like that, all right? And there were some behaviors I observed that maybe gave me a little bit of an indication that maybe some of you were feeling like that. Not everyone. But again, I turn back to me. So I want meetings to be meaningful. So we're going to try something new today. We want it to be this. Okay, maybe that's a little extreme, but you get the gist. You can't watch that movie without feeling good and feeling like a kid again. But we do. We want these to be meaningful. So today I've asked 8 students, I believe, to be a part of a panel to have some dialogue back and forth with us about college and career readiness. As you know, that's been our main focus for our staff meetings this year as we've approached our monthly SRT times, where we want to dig a little deeper into college and career readiness. This very broad, this very large term that encompasses a lot of things, right? We talked very on earlier in the year about it's a lot of content knowledge in English and math. A lot of people use the term to mean you're meeting a basic requirement in English and math. But we also know that college and career readiness involves a whole list of other skills and attitudes, lifelong learning, the ability to recover from setbacks, having a good attitude, the soft skills of being on time, all those things. So as I thought about the definition of college and career readiness, I thought of these programs that these students are going to talk with us about today. I'm going to moderate it by asking some questions and ask that you just listen. I did a little research on getting feedback, and I want to read something to you. It says, giving feedback. Constructive feedback is indispensable to productive collaboration. Positive feedback is easy to give and receive. When the response highlights a need to improve, it's harder to say and much harder to hear. When it is done properly, feedback is a very specific kind of communication. It focuses on sharing with another person the impact of their behavior, and its purpose is to help that person become more effective. Feedback is most useful when it's audible, credible, and actionable. So we want to focus on that today, being audible, credible, actionable, and help us become more effective. So I'm going to ask these students to introduce themselves to start out. They're going to tell a little bit about a program that they are involved in. It could be a class, it could be a program, and how it is preparing them for college and career readiness. But just to start, your name, your grade level, and the program. Please take notes. The second part of this meeting is going to be breaking them into teams and going through some of the reflective questions. They have a microphone on each side, so I'm going to get out of the way and just try to let this thing flow. We're going to see how it goes. Anya, you can start, please.
Hi, my name is Anya Chundis. I know a lot of you in here, I don't know if you know me, but I am a part of SLICE, and it stands for South Shore Leadership. It's a very, very long name. So South Shore Leadership Youth for Community Engagement, and that's exactly what it is. It's getting the youth from all over the region, Hammond, Lake Central, all over, and getting them together and teaching them how to be good leaders in the community and how to prepare them. Because leadership lacks in our country today, and they thought this would be a good program. We need to get our youth up here and get them prepared for leadership.
Very good. Thank you, Anya. So the other thing I love about this model, go ahead and the other thing I love about this is giving them a chance to put into practice some of the skills and leadership opportunities. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Michaela Workman. I'm representing the cadet teaching program at the high school. It's the first 2 hours of the day. It gives students pursuing a job like all of yours. We get to shadow and help teach and make lesson plans. So like your guys' jobs, you can see how they work.
And where are you at? What school?
I was at Boston Middle School in 6th grade classes.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Brooke Wheeling. I'm a senior this year, and I represented the IU LaPorte Health Hospital internship. And pretty much every day, Monday through Thursday, for 2 hours in the morning, you went to the hospital and you got to choose what department you went into. And then for me, I personally wanted to go into the health and careers and all of the doctory stuff. And so I went there, and it just really helped you. You were always on time, and you got to talk to all these different people about their jobs, and it just really helped you prepare for if you want to go into the health field. Just some insight.
Thanks, Brooke.
My name is Brandon Mullen. I'm a junior at high school, and I'm representing leadership of LaPorte County. I did this last year, and it's similar to Slice, but it's a lot more local, LaPorte County and LaPorte County. So a lot of the DAC, the PCC schools were there. And we went over 5 weeks of training for an entire day, 5 times. And we just go over with different people that have affected our lives, and they give us lessons about what they've learned. For instance, we went to the jail and we met some prisoners, and to learn from their experiences and how to learn from them, and that even though you're at rock bottom, you can always get back up to where you need to be and keep improving.
I'm gonna make sure, okay. So my name is Katie Marsh. I'm a senior here at LaPorte High School, and I'm here to promote our FFA chapter as well as our agriculture program. And the purpose behind FFA is to promote leadership through agricultural education. So we do a lot of things. You guys probably just get tired of signing my passes because I'm gone from school a lot because we do a lot of different CDEs, and those are actually career development events. We participate in a few, and they just help you to prepare for a career and maybe soil management, or even, I know there's welding, there's leadership CDs, it's basically endless.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Langford. I'm also representing FFA. FFA really helps you to learn more about the agricultural options out there.
Hi there, I'm Jacob Camille. I know many of you, and I'm here to represent the BCE program. And many of you are thinking, what is BCE? And basically, the last 2 hours of the day, 4th and 5th period, all kids have a job that they're assigned to. For example, I work at Dunkin' Donuts. And so through that, I get career readiness and college readiness. I take on skills that will help me with the career, or make me realize I need to go to college to get a better job. We do project-based learning, so many of you have seen us in the bookstore and realized what's going on in there. One of our major assignments was to come up with a business proposal. What would we like to see in the bookstore besides it being a bookstore? And we presented them to Mr. Tonigal, and one of the big ones, for example, what I did was to put a coffee shop in there. And so I worked with Dunkin' Donuts, my manager, for buying coffee and other donuts, and to see where it would go from there. But so far it's at a standstill, so if anybody wants to help.
The wellness policy's got it stopped right now.
Hello there. My name is Hayden Lydens, and I'm with the Interact Club and World Affairs. And just to briefly cover Interact Club, it's a wonderful program that I'm in that helps youth get engaged more in the community through community service and helping out at events and things like that. I think it's really important that young kids get out in the community and help out and volunteer, because not only do you get to get the benefit of seeing other people benefiting from your help, but it helps you get that sense of responsibility and all those other vital traits that are important when you grow up and you go out in the workspace. So, yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Bianca Gamis, and I'm here to represent BPA, which stands for Business Professionals of America. And what we end up focusing on is preparing students to be ready to enter the business field. Since technology is advancing, they need to understand the skills that are required for keyboarding or other softwares provided through the computers. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So as our school advances college and career readiness, one of the things that we've said we need to do a better job with is having our staff take on this role of advisor and promoter and someone that helps students reach their career goals. Certainly our counselors, that's a big part of what they do, but it's probably unrealistic to have a student load of 400, 500 students on one counselor's load and have them do all the advising. So what I would like our panel to answer, maybe more of a lightning round, is how did you get involved in this program? Was there a class that helped push you in that direction? Was there a sponsor, a staff sponsor that nominated you, somebody that encouraged you? Think in terms of how you got to where you're at, because we know this is it's working for you. So let's start. We'll just start on this end and zip back by.
Well, Mrs. Cepeda ended up helping me out, figure out what BPA is, and we ended up signing a petition to see if it could come to LaPorte High School. And it's actually a really big organization. Over down south of Indiana, there's a team of like 253 students that are involved with BPA. And Mrs. Cepeda has helped us. We currently have 40 members. Not all of them are active, but our main focus is to make them active. She stays after school to help us prepare for our competitions and go over speeches, see what's required for us to turn in and have them judge.
So, actually, I got into Interact. Someone was telling me about the World Affairs conference that they're having, and you know, I was interested because hey, you get to get out of school and go to this awesome thing. So that kind of piqued my interest, but I'm happy to say that once I got involved in it, I was really happy that I joined, not only to miss school, but that's nothing, but it really helps you learn about being a good member.
For BCE, for me, I think LaPorte's all about career readiness, and the most important thing, you can teach career readiness, but you don't quite know how a student will be in their career, so I figured get a job, see how it goes, and I went to Miss Maxie for help, and she set me up, and that's where I am today. I'm really enjoying it, and I really think it gives me a career readiness for the future.
I was led to FFA by Mr. Walker. I saw him a couple times in the hallway, and he knew that I was involved with 4-H, and he kind of recruited me to take his classes and join FFA.
So some of you guys might know this, some of you guys might not. In between my sophomore and my junior year, I transferred from Oregon-Davis High School, and I had about 50 kids in my grade, going to LaPorte High School where I have 500 kids in my grade. But at Oregon-Davis, they had a very successful established FFA, so I've actually been involved with FFAs from 7th grade and junior FFA, so I was able to really see what it's like to be in a school with a rich agricultural tradition, especially when it comes to FFA. So then when I came to transfer, I got sort of connected to Mr. Walker, and so we've been establishing this, and some of the stuff he really likes to do, and some of the stuff I really like to do, so I really pushed for it. And one of the things that I really pushed for was for us to be able to go to the national convention. And I might not have mentioned this, I'm the president of our FFA chapter, and Mary Beth is our vice president. And so we were able to take a few of our officers to the national convention in Louisville this year. And that is more focused, instead of around agriculture, it's more focused on leadership and networking.
Very good.
I became involved with Leadership LaPorte County because of Mr. Tongol. I'm part of his Student Advisory Council. So last year, a couple of us in his council were selected to represent LaPorte High School in Leadership LaPorte County. So the 5 or 6 of us went, and we started taking this seminar.
All right, I heard about the hospital internship from some students last year who participated in it, who I was good friends with. And so I knew I wanted to go into the health field. So I just began talking to them and seeing what they did, and it sounded like something I was really interested in. So I talked to my counselors who were all for it because, well, first, it looks great on your application. So I was like, awesome. And then second, it just really worked for me. So So that's how I heard about it and how I got involved in it.
So the students, word of mouth, started it. The word of mouth by other students, what started it.
They talk well about it.
Yeah.
I found out about the cadet teaching program through having cadet teachers in my own classrooms growing up, and I've always wanted to do it because I wanted to be a teacher since I was really young. So the opportunity to do it was great, and I've learned, like, Miss Maxie is the sponsor of it, and she's been really helpful and great. Like, I never realized how hard it was to actually like deal and be responsible with like 30 of these kids that need everything from you. And so she was great in counseling me through that emotionally and so yeah, it's been a really great experience, and I'm glad.
I actually found out about Slice through a friend that got nominated by a teacher last year, but lots and lots and lots of students that got nominated did not want to do this program because it was too much money. But I will say this program, all of the people that lead this program will help you pay for it. There are different things that you can do to help pay for it, like jobs, helping your family. But Miss Scanlon actually nominated me, which I thank her so much for, because if it wasn't for her nominating me, I would have never gotten this opportunity. And you can see by the way I dress, the way I speak and make eye contact, that's all what we learn in Slice. And I think that's important for kids to learn these days, because you'll see them texting on their phones, not even communicating with adults around us. And so, Miss Scanlon, everybody.
Question deals with your future. As you plan for the next steps in your life, your post-secondary plans, how is what you're doing now connecting to that? Even if you're not going to go directly into that program or into that area of study, think of the things that you're doing now that are going to help you, that you think are going to help you. And talk a little bit about your future plans. Start Anya with you.
Like I said, is this on?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay, there we go. Like I said, this program that I'm involved in helps me communicate with people who are older than me or people who are of higher education than me, whatever the situation is. And I think that's an important life skill no matter what field you go into, because you will have to communicate with people and get things done. And another thing that Slice teaches me is responsibility. You are treated like an adult in this program, and they expect you to be an adult. If you are not an adult, acting like an adult in this program, they will kick you out. And responsibility is also important. So that's what I've learned so far in this program.
Kayla.
For teaching, it's like, sometimes it's the first time you've ever been in charge of a group of people, and you've been responsible for what they're doing, how they're doing it, and when it's like turned in. So you've got a lot on your plate, and it's just taught me like how you need to manage your time, how you need to gain the respect of like the students you're teaching, and like developing lesson plans that actually engage the kids and teach them something. It's been really helpful, and I'm gonna use it.
Well, for me personally, going into the hospital internship, I was dead set on becoming an orthodontist. I was like, teeth are cool, they're awesome. So I originally went to the dentistry program that was provided, and so I went there, and I do not want to be an orthodontist, because to be an orthodontist, you have to do the 4 years of regular college, then you have to do the 4 years of dentistry, and then you have to do 4 years of orthodontics. I was like, 4 years of dentistry, this is going to be really rough. And so we had the option to change. And so I went into the ER. And then in the ER, you are pretty much treated like one of them. You have your own little seat, and you sit there, and you get these calls, and they ask you to like do different things. And although I couldn't really do anything hands-on, because obviously I'm not trained, but I was able to be in the rooms, and if someone's having a stroke, you have to keep your cool, you really have to, and you interact with them as well. Like, but you have to interact with them, and you have to be personable. And I think that's something that I took from it that I'm going to use a lot.
Similar to my other peers, this Leadership LaPorte County program has taught you how to adapt to situations. And like Brooke, I also want to go in the medical field, and you can't be a successful person in the medical field if you're not able to stay calm and adapt to situations that are thrown at you, and also the ability to interact with other people. I remember, I think we did this during SRT one time. everybody took a personality test to see if you were gold or green or something like that. We also did that at Leadership LaPorte County, and it just tells you that not everybody thinks the same way as you, and you need to be able to adapt to that situation and work with other people to be able to do it.
You don't have to raise your hand.
Another thing that we learn is, or actually that we do, is we get connections that last a lifetime. Like I know a man from NERC, and it's a program that in the community where they help better the communities and like recreation, and I also am a part of the Youth Employment Council, and that helps youth get involved into a job, how to better the jobs for the youth. And so this program also helps my future basically by getting me those connections to different people in different programs. Sorry, I just had to add that.
Right, so I'm really an anomaly. I'm our FFA president, and I don't want to go into anything that has to do with the agricultural field. Actually, my degree that I'm going for business with an interest in pre-law. But definitely FFA has helped me a lot through my leadership skills, planning skills, stress management skills, dealing with other people, being more personable, speaking in public, whatever it is, FFA helped me tremendously with that. And actually I was able to go to IUPUI and receive one of their Scouting scholarships, and I was definitely able to do that just because I was so active in FFA and I was able to tell them crazy stories. And it was a really good thing for me, and I've also been directly admitted to their Kelly School of Business there at IUPUI. So FFA, even though I am not presented at the board meeting, so they asked us all, oh, what are you going to do? So everybody's like, oh, I want to farm, or I want to go and help manage elevators, or I want to be an ag teacher, and I don't want to do any of that. I want to possibly be a lawyer when I grow up. So it's just to show you that FFA can really help you with anything, no matter what field you want to go into, no matter what your skill set is.
One of the things that we learned at National Convention when we were there was that FFA needs to be more inclusive, and kind of what Katie said, I don't want to go into any agricultural kind of field, but I'm the vice president, and FFA has really helped me, again, learn stress and how to manage other people and how to help people figure out what they want to do and listen to other people. So that's just really helpful.
BCE prepares students for a lot more than many of you may think. When I first went into BCE, I had not worked a day in my life. I had no resume. I had no anybody to contact. Now, with Ms. Maxey's help, I've built a resume. By the end of the year, I'll have a full portfolio. And I've done projects such as the business, getting a coffee shop into LaPorte, and employer banquet which we're putting on. Many things BCE, you would think, who works at Dunkin' Donuts? That's not where I see myself. With Ms. Maxey's help, showing up on time, don't play on your phone, be a good worker. That's what it's all about, getting kids ready. Personally for me, I have been offered a management position where I work, and many kids in high school can't have on their resume, hey, manager position or anything like that. So BCE is really preparing me for the future, where if I want to go to college, wherever I'm getting my first job, on my resume it'll have on their management, and I have my manager to back me up on that too.
Okay, so there are a few programs that I'm in that I think really help me develop these skills I'm going to need later on in life. Interact, Slice, and Speech. With Interact, I feel like there are times when I'm like, oh, I really don't want a bell ring today. I don't want to get up, but I have to do it. And that's really important to me for developing my work ethic, which I know is sometimes something I have trouble with. But I know that every time I go out there and get a run and do something that I really feel like I don't want to, it helps me. It helps me realize that there are certain situations that I'm going to encounter later in life where I'm not necessarily going to be wanting to do something, but I'm going to have to. With Slice, like Anya said, you do get very, very good connections, and you do learn how to treat your peers and as adults and treat adults as peers. And I think that's really helpful because you're always going to have to talk to people, always have to respect other people's ideas. And if you can see eye to eye with other people, it really helps. And like me, I want to go into business, so speaking is a big part of it, and being personable and being able to communicate with people is really helpful too. And you know, with Slice, you get all these connections. I met someone who worked on Wall Street, and I thought it was really great just to go up and talk to him and give him my business card. I felt like I was really making an impact for my future. And I have to thank Mr. Wasley in the front row. You know, teach me everything I know about speech, because I know when I know when I'm older, you're never gonna get away from having to speak in front of people. So I feel like it's something that you get comfortable with early in your life. It just gets easier and easier. So yeah.
BPA has helped me because I want to enter into the business field, hopefully own my own business or go into financial services. And what we end up helping students out with is with responsibility, because I know when we ended up going to state, when I was competing, you have a set amount of time to go to the mall, go hang out with friends, meet new people. We had a campaign rally, and we had leadership sessions, and we had to make sure that we could manage our time and make sure we're up and early to go to our competition, compete, go to the campaign rally, end up voting, and it just helped us become responsible and manage our time. And it's helped me communicate with other people as well, because I know when I was down in state, first I was all reserved, just focusing on my competition. That's all I wanted to focus on. And then on the bus, I had no idea where I was going. It was like Pike High School. And so the person that I sat with, I was just communicating with her, seeing if she had any advice for me. And she was actually competing in a different competition. And she told me that not to worry, don't stress, everything's gonna be fine. It was also her first year, so we were just communicating back and forth. She gave me advice for our BPA here in LaPorte, and I ended up asking her, how could we improve as a club? Because I know you guys are a big club, and you guys have many active members. And so communication is really important. BPA also has competitions for speeches. So you end up developing a speech, and you speak it in front of the judges. And there's also economical problems that you can end up speaking about, you express your opinion, and you let people know where your stance are, and interviewing skills, which is very important for high school students. And because you're going to end up getting a job, and you need to know how to dress and how to present yourself.
We're going to start with Brandon and Katie on this one, so we'll go ahead and put the mics there. So I want you to tell us the biggest area of the learning curve for you. So in other words, kind of like what weren't you prepared for that we should know about, so that we can build more of that into our curriculum, into our SRT, into our experiences, so that future students who do these types of things are more ready. We'll start with Brandon or Katie, whoever is more ready. Who said learning the most? Maybe you had the most opportunity. Maybe you weren't as prepared.
Well, I'm probably less prepared than her, but I'll go anyways. I think at the high school, the best opportunity we have so far is definitely our public speaking. In our English classes, we always have the ability to speak with our classes, prepare ourselves, dress formally, make eye contact, hand gestures, you know, really give yourself a persuasive argument. But when you go to these different programs, you realize that there's so much out there compared to public speaking. You need to learn how to just communicate one-on-one with another person. It's not always going to be a big group like this. You need to be able to see eye to eye and adapt to someone's personality, because not everybody's going to be as organized as you are. They're going to be a little more laid back, maybe a little more emotional. So it's just all about being able to relate back to the classroom and how we can utilize all different aspects of society.
We can go to anybody else. We don't have to go in order, but I kind of want to know, you know, what's been the biggest learning curve for you? So you maybe just weren't quite as ready. You wish maybe you would have had a little bit more exposure to certain things in your classes. And I'm talking all classes. We have a very diverse teaching force in here. It's not just your program. We're wanting our whole staff to take on this Housing for Readiness thing. So
I think going into my BCE program, I didn't know too much about business, management, working somewhere. Miss Maxie helped me out to figure all that out, and I think she's done a great job at that, because now I am more prepared. I am ready for whatever career I have in the future. I think being more prepared with an employee-employer relationship is very important. It's the same that goes here for teachers and students. Teacher-student relationship, I think, really needs to be closer. For example, Ms. Krause, I'm terrified of Ms. Krause. I would like to Spanish isn't the best, such as with me and my employer, I was very scared of him to begin with. He's my manager, he could fire me anytime he wants if I mess up. I never did, and me and my employer are very good friends now. So, Ms. Krause.
You don't have to be but anybody else want to take that one on?
Alright, I don't know how to compete with that. Alright, so there's a couple things that I wasn't really ready for the hospital internship. To start, I am clearly not qualified to be in a hospital, treating people, talking to people. Like, someone, because at sometimes you're just left alone with this person and they're on this gurney and you're just like, hey there. How you doing? Like, you just have to work on your social skills, and a lot of it is becoming friends with all the nurses. Because I just thought I would walk in there and be like, hey guys, what's up? And they would be like, how are you? And we'd be best friends. But it wasn't like that. They're like, you are a high school intern. You have high school intern written on the back of your shirt. But it was very, like, I became friends with all of the nurses. And now they're like, hey, you play volleyball? We have a volleyball league at the YMCA. You're on it now. I'm like, okay, cool. So now I see them Wednesdays and I play volleyball with them. They're all awful, but it's still like, it's still a lot of fun, and I've made friends, and like, I really enjoyed seeing them outside of the hospital internship. And then alongside that, every Friday we sat at the round table and we would write down what we learned for that week. And so, and what we did and what we had to overcome, and then, so that was kind of made into our portfolio with Ms. Maxey. And so I wasn't really ready to make a portfolio. I've never made a portfolio. She made us make a resume, and I'm like, what's a resume? And it just really helped me prepare for my future, and I wasn't really ready for it to impact me that much.
So I think like there's nothing I was really unprepared for. It was more like, not overly, but like I was pretty prepared for like observing all of you as you teach me. I took a lot of your methods and everything to teach like the kids I was responsible for, which was really helpful. And a class that helped a lot was taking child development with Ms. Zeltner. I learned how to deal with like being in the preschool and seeing all the children and like talking to them. And some of the kids would have IEPs, individualized learning plans, and like you have to adapt to that. And it really came in handy when I was teaching a computer class and one of the little girls had Angelman syndrome, I think. It was hard to deal with, and like it just prepared me to realize that she's not like the other kids. I had to keep her from getting picked on, like all this other stuff. That was like the hardest part, of seeing like these kids get picked on and you couldn't really just yell at them justly. So standing up for other like kids and everything, it's
one thing I will say that I was unprepared for was getting out of my comfort zone. And usually I am a very outspoken kind of person. I will tell you what I think. But being unprepared, getting out of your comfort zone was calling people, important people, like leaders of programs that I have no idea what they are, but they're there. And just being able to learn that skill, being able to talk to people, being able to email people, that's really cool. And I wish that our school, and I do see it, Mrs. Lebo makes us call businesses to help to do a sculpture for their business. And I think that's really cool that she did that, because that gets you prepared. You will do that in life. And Ms. Parker, she makes the yearbook kids call businesses about buying an ad. And I think if I saw more of that in the school, that would be really awesome, because we all will have to do that at some point, hopefully.
All right, so we're gonna do, oops, did you wanna go? Yeah.
I can also speak.
One of the biggest learning curves for me was earlier in my high school career, I was under the impression that academics was everything, and that as long as you focused entirely on knowing everything, you'd be set for life. But I realized more I got into the real world, it's not always what you know, it's how you can talk to people and how you can communicate with people. So I decided I really wanted to work on that, and I feel like it's something I've gotten a little bit better at. But the things that these classes have taught me, like English classes where everyone can sit around and have a discussion, and it's not always about what's right and what's wrong, but what you think, teaches you kind of the value of your own ideas and the value of other people's ideas. And I think if you just bury your head in a book and you kind of ignore the people around you, it's something that you can leave out. And it's really important to have now and when you're an adult. So that's what I think.
As vice president for BPA, I mean, this might come as a shocker for most of you staff members, but I did not know what dressing up professionally was, or casually. So going down to state, I had to come meet with Mrs. Cepeda and be like, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And she gave me a list, she got me a bunch of pictures of outfits, and she told me exactly where to go and buy them cheaply, but they look right. And also with that, Mrs. Cepeda has helped me realize that business skills are important as well as communicating skills, like the English department ends up focusing on, especially my French teacher. We do a bunch of speaking quizzes and tests, and it just helps me realize that if I mess up, I can just go back and correct myself.
So in my defense, I thought he wanted me to tell you guys how we were all going to approve FFA, so that's why I was a little bit off there, because we're still a very new program. But one thing that I would definitely be a big proponent for within LaPorte High School would be project-based learning. Like we did a lot of OD, there was a new tech school, there was a lot of problems with it. But I remember, okay, so Miss Parker, I had her in PR first trimester, so we were just all kind of like flying by the seat of our pants for like the entire first trimester, because we've never done this before, we didn't know what was going on. But in that is where you learn your real life skills. So project-based learning, where you give your students like loose requirements and you give them a deadline and you say, you know, like, okay, you need to design a keynote and it needs to touch on this and this. Like honestly, like you will be amazed with what you see your students step up to the plate and do. And then within that, I mean, we've been talking about it the entire time. You have to learn how to communicate with people. You have to learn how to interact with other people. There are people in my classes that I don't like. I like very few people. How to work with them. You know, you have to learn how to work with them. You don't get to pick your coworkers. Your boss picks your coworkers. Maybe you're not going to like your boss. So, I mean, I think if students learn, like, you know, how to work and succeed in a group project within class with people that they don't necessarily know, maybe don't necessarily like, you're going to be surprised. Like, I know Miss Parker she was so excited whenever we got our final projects done for PR, and she was so happy. And the thing was, like, she gave us such loose requirements, but, you know, you're going to see your students step up to the plate and do really well with that. So I think project-based learning is one thing that we could definitely use more of in the high school, especially at the high school level. We're not elementary students anymore. We don't need worksheets all the time. So that's one thing that I'd be a big
So that's a perfect lead into the last question. So I wanted you to think about your learning experiences in the classroom and in the program, and think not only what you're learning, but how you go about learning it. So what has been the most helpful learning experiences? We know we all learn differently. We want to be able to meet all those different learning needs in a classroom. It's a big challenge because our classrooms are very diverse and students come to us with a lot of different backgrounds. So think the how part. Just kind of like what Katie was just saying. Anybody else want to talk about how? In your program, do you just have a one mode teaching model, or are there other things you're doing in your learning besides project-based? Anybody?
Like Katie said, I think that LaPorte should do a lot more of project-based assignments, because in slides we do a lot of moving around and doing lots of activities, and then afterwards we see how did that relate to real world life. And that really helped me see, like we did this game, I forgot what it was called, but you get 3 objects on your table, and one represents knowledge, one represents brain, one represents clothes. And everyone has 3 different objects, and you have to create your own country that would be successful. And we bargained with other people, and in the end, it went chaotic. Everybody was starting wars against each other's countries, and it showed me how the world worked. And that little game that we played, I learned so much about the world that I live in, not just my country, but the whole entire world. So I think if we did more projects and activities like that instead of worksheets, because I have a lot of worksheets, It would be a lot better for the students at LaPorte.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so for like projects we can do in class, like I think group projects, and that's not just because I'm a kid and I like working with my friends, but group projects are really helpful in the ones where you get to teach your classmates a lesson if you give them a specified chapter or something, because that way they get the experience to teach each other. In Miss Maxie's cadet teaching program, every Monday we would meet up and we would all talk about our experiences during the week and like how we're teaching the kids, and we'd like collaborate on, oh, well, she would give us advice on, oh, maybe you could better explain it this way. I still have kids who come up to me at the Y every day after school and say, hi, Miss Workman, oh, remember when you taught us this? Or did you like my essay? And I'm like, yeah, you did a good job. And it's helpful that way.
When I was interning in the ER, it was more so like, you don't have time to ask questions, you don't have time to react, you are just, this person's being pushed in from the emergency ambulance. They're just being pushed in, they're rushed in, there's nurses everywhere, there's all these little vitals, they're just flying everywhere, and you just step back and you watch. And that's where I think I learned the most, was when you have an experience and you don't have time to react, and you don't have time to think about it, but you learn through what you did and what the people around you were doing. So I think to apply that to a classroom, instead of giving a very strict criteria rubric, you have to include this, 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 which a lot of classes are like, especially like for final projects. It should be more so like, here is an experience, here's something that you've done, interpret this in a way that applies to that class.
I'm going to agree with what Michaela was talking about, because I think for a new type of learning skill besides project, I think teachers should be involved like this right now. We're talking to you, we're getting feedback. Every Tuesday I meet with Mrs. Maxey, we sit in a boardroom and we all discuss, how can we improve this? How can I get a good resume? What does my employer look for? What do I have to wear to an interview? All of that, and it feels like we're all part, we're all learning together instead of her just assigning me things.
I think the best way to learn is the idea of being uncomfortable. In a lot of standardized tests that we shouldn't have to take, but we do anyways, there's a sense of being uncomfortable, and sometimes in that behavior you can't react and you can't do what you know you can do. You're not reaching your full potential. So I think if in the classroom we had like a quick 10 minutes, do a essay or something that there's no requirements and you don't know what to do. You need to learn how to respond to that. And even if you don't write anything down, you're learning things for the next experience. And I just think that sense of being uncomfortable is what teaches you the most.
I don't know why I need this, but I say I learn best when I do things. I feel like if I do something enough, even if I'm doing it wrong, eventually I'll get really good at it and start doing it right. And in Interact Club, we don't really sit around and talk about what we're going to do as much as we just go out there and do it. I remember as soon as I joined, they gave me parking lot duty for a concert at the Civic Auditorium, and I was way out of my comfort zone. I had never done anything like that, and I was pretty bad at it. I was pretty horrible at it, but I did enough and I learned. I really like that. Out there in the wild, learning hands-on. But another thing I like about Interact is that we do talk about what we're going to do, and it doesn't feel like this environment is assigning us things to do. We discuss what we're going to do. It's a student-based agenda, a curriculum, I'd say. And I just want to continue a little bit more and say that I really like when you're finished with something to stand back and see what you did. It's like that, those project-based learnings where you can step back. It's kind of like being a construction worker. You work all day on a house and you can step back and you can see and you can feel accomplished by doing that. So I think if we have a little bit more of that in the classroom, it can help students excel and want them to do a job and not only do it and get it done, but do it right. And also, during that game we played at Slice, I ended up buying most of the world's oil. So there's that business.
I feel the best way
students end up learning is by trying new things. Because I know when we first started with BPA, we had no idea what we were doing. We were planning, oh, we're gonna go help Mucho Mas, the new one that ended up opening in Michigan City. Never did that. We were like, oh, we can help do more community service, we can fundraise. We had so many fundraising ideas, never did any of them except for one, which ended up helping us out a lot. But it's trying new things, realizing what's gonna work, what's not gonna work. When we ended up going to state, we had no idea what we were doing. We waited outside for a hotel room for like an hour and a half maybe, because we didn't know what was going on. And then I had to go compete, so then coming back, I was so confused. And then afterwards, I ended up realizing what was going on, all these competitions, everyone was just worrying about themselves. But at the same time, we ended up we had to rely on ourselves and also others around us. So that new experience kind of helped us out. And also, students would end up learning best with feedback. I know when I ended up competing for district, when I got back my competition paper, which I ended up competing in intermediate word processing, which is just typing up a bunch of documents and replicating them, I ended up scoring 40 out of like 100 some, and I realized what I ended up doing wrong. I ended up spacing wrong, and just getting that feedback and having Mrs. Cepeda help me out and figure out what I'm doing wrong ended up improving myself, and then I would end up taking practice tests, more practice tests, to improve myself.
All right, you wanna go, Mary Beth?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, in FFA we have horse judging, livestock judging,
Soils judging, environmental. And then I'm gonna try to do CDE, but that'll be kind of individual.
So we have all these CDEs, and they really help us by, we experience what we're supposed to be learning. We don't just sit down and like read a bunch of slides. We go out and we do it. I'm on the horse judging team, and I have horses at my house, so the team comes over to my house and we look at the horses, we discuss what we should change about them, what is and isn't right with them. And it really helps us learn what we need to learn.
Very good. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and dismiss our student panel, and I just wanna tell you guys, great job. You did an awesome job.